Hello, Ralph McIntyre here, one of the instructors here at Kepler College in the Astro Mapping program. We're going to look at transits via the lens of geodetic mapping. And so traditionally people look at transits in their charts and how they affect them through the lens of their chart. By looking at it through the lens of the geodetic map, you're looking at it from a location perspective, how it actually affects you where you are on the planet. And I'm also going to introduce another type of astrology practice that I call astronesting, and it talks about the signature of your house or the energy of your house from an astrology perspective. All right, without any further ado, let's get into some transits. So we're going to start by looking at the transit for the month of May. And with anything astrological, I always recommend to look at the chart to start with, to get the understanding of what's going on, where the planets are. And then by understanding the chart, we can then look at the map and see what's going on there. And the reality is the map view and the chart view show a lot of similarities and some things very different. On the map view, it's hard to see the signs, but on the chart view, it's really easy to see the signs. And on the chart view, it's very hard to see the locations, but on the map view, it's very easy to see the locations. But these two images that I've been going back and forth of are really showing the same thing. And we're primarily going to use geodetic equivalents. And the way geodetic works, and this is what I teach in this Kepler class, the geodetic system basically takes the astrological zodiac degree and translates it into longitude of the Earth lat long system. And so the nice thing about this is you do not need birth time, although you can use birth time, but you do not need birth time to look up geodetic maps. It's the only mapping system that I'm aware of that you can actually look up without birth times. And so we're going to look at some of the transits, some of the locations. We're not going to look at all the transits, all the locations, but we're just going to get our feet wet, geek out a little bit on astrology and see where we go. So we're going to talk about some of the faster moving planets in the geodetic system. The planets that move fast, like all the inner planets, will actually cover quite a distance on the map versus the slow-moving planets like Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus will actually stay fairly fixed for long periods of time. And as we look at the map, it'll become more clear to you. So we got Mars in Leo, we got Venus in Aries, we got Pluto in Aquarius. Everyone is shaking. And then Neptune went into Aries. And then also Uranus has been sitting there in Taurus for quite a long time. And so there's some really interesting things that are happening on the map that kind of I find really intriguing, because so often when you look at the world events and you look at the geodetic map, you'll find that the two line up very well. And so we're going to look at what Mars is doing. We're going to look at where Pluto is. We're going to look at where Neptune is. We'll play around a little bit with Venus. And if you want to follow along, if you go to geodeticmap.com, all the links I talk about will be in the description below. But if you go to geodeticmap.com, there's actually a free tool that you can use to follow along. You can look these transits up. You can kind of dive into your own personal location and follow. You know, it's quite helpful, I find, to know what's happening locally in my location, and this tool is designed to help you do that. Okay, so let's look at this world map. We're looking at a representation of the birth chart, or the transit chart that you just saw laid out on the map of the world. All the planets are color-coded. You can hover over the planets and see the descriptions. You can hover over the names, the planet names, to see what's going on. It also shows you least and most aspected planets. This is a really powerful tool you can use. You can also look up dates, any date way back. I think I go all the way back into the 1800s on this, or no, 1500s. And so you can do research with this, but one of my favorite things to do is just kind of pay attention to what's going on in the world, understanding what's going on in the world, and the geodetic map can be very helpful. So this is May 1st, and then the next map I'm going to show you is May 31st. And so it's kind of hard to see in this view. I'm going to zoom in and show you some different areas, but if you look at this black Pluto line and the red Mars line, see how on May 1st Pluto and Mars are close together? If you look at the birth chart, or the transit chart, that Pluto and Mars are nearly almost in exact opposition. So they're going to play out on the map quite a bit that way. And so, but then when you go to the end of the month, you can see how far that Mars moved and the Pluto did not. So in the United States, the western, northwestern Seattle area is one of the areas that Pluto's going to be sitting there for a while. Portland's got that Pluto-Uranus is sitting there quite a while. The Mars, all the inner planets are going to be moving relatively quickly. So let's get into looking at this. So this first map we're going to look at, I'm showing just the outer planets. And I want to kind of show you some of the areas that I think are going to be relatively interesting. And so I'm not going to get too much into politics here at all. I am going to talk a little bit about astrology, location, and the interesting aspects of some of the areas in which the world is got some things going on. So we talked a little bit about this Seattle area with Pluto and Mars and Uranus up here, Portland, Northern California, the whole West Coast. It's got a lot of energy going on this month. This Pluto and Uranus has been there for quite a while. It's going to be there for a long time. But the thing that's actually going to be moving throughout the month is this Mars line. So a couple areas. We got the Seattle, but the other area I want to look at is, so we're looking at right there off of Venezuela, Brazil. We got the Pluto Mars right here. But here's another area. This area right here, that Mars is going to be going over Israel, Iraq. Iran has got that Uranus line. And then also over there by China, South Korea, this whole area right here, Mars is going to be moving through. And so if you look at the beginning of the month, Mars was at early Leo, and at the end of the month it's going to be progressed kind of mid-Leo. And so by looking at that, we can see how far Mars has moved. Okay, so throughout the month of May, Mars is going to be going over Israel. It's going to be going over North Korea, the east coast of China, Japan. It's also going to be traveling through Brazil. So if you are in any of those areas, you want to pay attention to the higher aspect of Mars. How are you expressing yourself? What are you doing to kind of allow that energy to come out? And then from the geopolitical perspective, this is a good time to kind of take appropriate action as far as what you're thinking is going to happen, what we're doing as a collective. And it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. Now, I can say one thing. I have been following geodetic maps for a while and the transits for a while. And sometimes they look a lot scarier than they are. And sometimes actually things happen. It's that age-old thing with astrology where sometimes things will pop off when transits are happening and sometimes they won't. And I think it's an energetic thing on the planet. It's like there's a potential, and it's not just because there's a potential doesn't mean it always happens. So the first map we're going to look at is the outer planets with the United States. Okay, so this is the beginning of May. So a couple things I want to point out. Like I was saying, this whole west coast of the United States, we got that Pluto-Uranus is playing out in Oregon, Seattle, Northern California, San Francisco. All this area has got that Uranus-Pluto energy. And so this will be here for several years now. Uranus moves faster than Pluto does, but this is going to be sitting there for several years. And so by understanding this, you can start to work with this energy. How is Pluto affecting you? What are you doing? What's going on the West Coast as far as energy? You can also utilize this in how you interact with people. Like Kepler's sitting up there in the Northwest area. So by interacting with Kepler, you're interacting with this cutting edge Pluto Uranus energy. Matter of fact, I'm going to give you some cutting edge astrological wisdom today in this video. Hot off the presses, a technique that I've been working on and developing that very few people are aware of. And it's also something I teach in my class on Kepler. So we also got this Neptune-Saturn sitting here going through the Midwest. The East Coast right now with outer planets is, relatively quiet. One of the things I like to do is I like to follow this Jupiter line through. And so if you go to this geodeticmap.com, which is this screen right here, you can actually watch how this is affecting you. You can zoom in, you can change dates, you can kind of figure out when these lines are going to hit you. So when is that Jupiter going to come over your house? When is that Mars going to come over your house? Mars through Leo and then Virgo, is going to be coming over the United States that Jupiter is moving through. The moon moves through several times a month. And so by understanding when these planets actually hit your location, you can utilize that energy in your day-to-day life. So this is the same map at the end of the month. Again, watch how far that Mars line moved. See, notice how the Neptune, Saturn, Pluto, and Uranus really don't move much. But that Mars, the faster moving planets, move quite a bit. So now we're going to look at Europe and Asia. So, interestingly enough, we got that Mars-Pluto affecting Europe. It's getting ready to go right over, like I say. Mars is going to be going over Israel. Uranus is sitting in Iran. And this Pluto-Uranus is sitting over off the east coast of China. And so by understanding this, you can start to wonder what's going on and utilize this. If you're in any of these areas, like Spain, France, UK, you got the Saturn coming over. You can, when you understand this, you can utilize this energy in your day-to-day life. And then again, here's the same map at the end of the month. You'll notice that the slower moving planets really didn't move much, but that Mars moved quite a bit. So like I say, it's going to go over Israel, Iraq. It's getting ready to go into Iran. And so hopefully cooler heads will prevail in these areas. And, people will express that Mars energy in a good way. Okay, so now I want to move into planets that you can actually use at your location more often than not, the fast-moving planets. So now we're talking the moon, Mercury, Venus, and the sun. The moon actually moves the fastest in the geodetic mapping system. It comes over any location on the planet several times a month. And you'll find that if you pay attention, like I say, if you go to that free program that I have up, you can actually notice when these planets are actually going to hit your house and anticipate it and use it wisely. If Jupiter or Mars or anything is coming to hit your location, by understanding when it's coming, you can actually utilize this energy. And this is something that I get into heavily in my geodetic mapping class. We spend a lot of times working with real world examples. I am very much a hands-on teacher, so I really like using people's charts. And we really just get into it and kind of geek out and play, and which helps you understand how to utilize this energy. So if you just look at this map and then we go to the next one, which is the end of the month, you'll see that these planets move quite a bit. The Venus lines move. All of these planets move across the United States. quite a bit. Okay, so then we can zoom in and look at United States. So we got this Venus, the beginning of the month. It's going to be central right here in the central United States, and it'll move through the Mercury and the moon. Like I say, this moon moves really quickly. And then by the end of the month, the Venus will be moved through. The moon will be coming back around. The Mars is going to be moving through. And the sun will slowly, methodically move across the United States for the next month. And so again, by understanding when these planets hit your particular location, you can utilize this energy in your day-to-day life. It's kind of like understanding the weather. And so if like Mars is getting ready to hit your location, especially Mars in Leo, it's a good time to express yourself. It's a good time to kind of take action. It's a good time to be careful about conflicts. You know, the Venusian energy, it's similar. You can use it. The moon energy, the Mercury energy, the sun energy. I utilize this a lot when I'm doing advertising. You can do a thing called remote activation, which basically allows yourself to utilize that energy even if you're not there. So for instance, let's say you're not in any of these locations, but you want to interact with people. You can potentially maybe use the information on this map to know when to reach out to that location. And here's again the European. On the beginning of the month, you'll see that Venus is going to be going through France. The sun line right here through Saudi Arabia, Iraq. We got Venus in China, Asia. We got the sun line over here. And then at the end of the month, you'll see this stuff moves. The Venus is still moving. That Mars is coming across. And again, by understanding how this stuff works, you can utilize this in your day-to-day life. So, I want to talk a little bit about a new technique that I have developed that I think you guys will really be interested in. So if you go to astronesting.com, you scroll down, you can actually put in your zip code or your city and look up different locations. So now for my location here in Borrego Springs, it's 3.6 degrees of Sagittarius. And then you can then use that information to put it into a map, put it into a chart and utilize that to see how the current transits or how your location affects your birth chart. And so right now we're looking at the transits of May, beginning of the month. I have the White House sits here in Capricorn, 12 degrees of Capricorn. We have Moscow sitting up here in Taurus, 7 degrees of Taurus. We have Beijing at 26 degrees Cancer. We have Brussels here at 4 degrees Aries. And so by looking at this, we can start to anticipate what's going on. And, I don't know about you, but if you like to geek out with astrology, you'll find this geodetic, this astronesting. And what I'm doing here is I'm taking the latitude of your location and converting it to an astrological signature. And so it gives the astrological signature of your house. And this is a free service on astronesting.com. You can actually get a report on your house and your location. There's a free report if you put the email in, or if you want one that actually talks about your how it affects your moon and your sun, you can get one of those too. And so this is all stuff that I go over and talk about in the geodetic mapping system in the course for Kepler. This free service right here, this map, is free to anyone to use. And like I say, you can look up any location, you can zoom in to any area. It'll also tell you a bunch of different information. You can look at the least and most aspected planets. And all of this will help you understand what's happening for you. So it's like if you're in the Northwest, you got that Pluto-Mars energy. Are you expressing yourself? If in the central part of the country, are you utilizing this this Jupiter energy? Are you utilizing the Saturn, Venus, Neptune energy that's coming through? Do you know when this stuff hits your particular location? And so one of the tricks with this is that because it actually looks things up on the universal time, depending on your location. For us in the United States, we actually have to go a day ahead. If you're in Europe, you can actually do the exact date, but it'll tell you. It tells you what day you're looking at on current time, but you have to look it up on UTC time. And so this allows you to look any location, any time, and really can be very helpful. All right, well, I hope you found this video helpful, and I look forward to talking more about this. My plan is to do this monthly. And again, check out the links in the description below. Some of these products are available. And also, take my Kepler class. You'll really enjoy it. We'll spend a lot of time geeking out on astrology and give you a deeper understanding of how to use geodetic maps. It's really nice for no birth time. You can look at world events, all sorts of different things, and it's a lot of fun. All right. Thank you so much and have a spectacular day.